Hey, welcome back. Long time.
Howdy doody.
Howdy doody to you. How have you been?
Tired.
We're always tired. It's been a long time
When was the
since we've
last
done
time
this.
when was the last time we did this?
Well, depending on when you would listen to the episode, to them it might be like a few seconds. But no, it's been a few months, hasn't it? Since last year.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
become a new year now. It's January of 2023, just to date us. But yeah, man, it's
A
been
year that never existed before now. Like whenever someone like even back in like we'll say 2018, someone would say, "Oh yeah, it'll be ready by 2023." That's not a real year.
that's not real. But now here
Yeah.
it is. We're in
Yeah,
it.
good
It's
God.
crazy.
Yeah,
But
5 years
yeah,
ago was 2018. It's hard to believe that.
it's been a long time.
Just as a random number.
Sure. Well, you and I were talking before it, like even with Futurama, Futurama's been out now, what,
3 years.
23 years, I guess, if it came out in like 1999. Well, yeah, 23 years, I guess. Um, and even then, like it's like all these episodes, like they're so old, but they still have like that connection to you. So it's funny. But yeah, now we get to start up with season two, beginning of season two here, episode one, A Flight to Remember. Uh, fun a fun episode, I would say, to begin. Overall, like before we get into the episode, what do you think of this as a season opener? Do you think it's a strong one? I thought it was fairly good.
I did enjoy it. It's I was never a big. I don't think I've ever watched full through the movie Titanic, which is this is loosely based off of.
Yeah, a few
So
elements, well, a few
yeah,
major elements of Titanic.
a
Yeah,
few major elements of this one. But just before we get into that, the
yeah,
last time we had a Futurama season was 2013. So it has now been 10
10
years.
years.
10 years. Like
Wow.
mind you, it came out like it stopped September 4th. So it hasn't been quite a full 10 years. But
Sure, but
2013 was the last
in
time, and
the year,
2023 is when the next season's supposed to come out, supposedly.
of course.
But yeah, 10 years since since Futurama has been off air. That is crazy to me. A decade.
Incredible. And we're still waiting on the new revived season for the
Yeah,
third time. Yeah.
the
Or the
fourth,
second time, fourth time. Oh, you're right, because the two new
technically
seasons were
fourth.
both renewed, right? Yeah. So
Yeah,
we're waiting for the new one that's all, owned by, was it Hulu?
Hulu.
Right.
Hulu, yeah,
So
yeah, right here. Hulu will be reviving it, yeah,
right.
for 20 episodes, which I'm
So
looking forward to.
yeah, me too. Me too. I think there's
I'm
a lot of
really hoping they don't.
promise. They don't do
Yeah, I'm
anything
hoping they
stupid.
don't do that stupid thing where they do two parts, 10 episodes each. I would really be disappointed in that.
You never know. You never know. But if they're taking this long to produce and make these episodes, I feel like they're going to get them all, maybe not together, but they're going to have like the weekly release date like they used to. So hopefully
Oh,
we'll look into
I
that.
would like that. As much as I would love to binge it in one night,
Yeah.
you got you got to appreciate it like a fine cheese, a little bit at a time. You can't
They
just go oh, two
they've
clump of
proven
cheese.
that shows get talked about the longer that they're on television, right? Especially for these
Yeah,
TV series. So
yep,
that's
yeah.
how they
And who was the
garner
first?
attention, right? Yeah.
Who was the first? It was Amazon who did that, right? With I think The Boys.
Maybe I know a few. Well, I mean, primetime television did this, but yeah, binging was
Yeah,
always like that
obviously,
was
yeah.
like the new thing, and then they've like started releasing it with other content. Maybe The Boys. I honestly don't know for sure, but a lot of
Well,
different things.
Stranger Things, probably the best thing that Netflix ever did, put all it out at the same time, except for this last season, which was a little strange in my opinion. They did a
Yeah,
part one, part two.
they separated the
Yeah,
series, right? Or they separated the season for that, but only the last couple of episodes, just to kind of give you that
yeah.
cliffhanger.
I I think that one might have been oh crap, we haven't finished our CGI effects yet.
They
Season break. Yeah.
or they
Yeah,
really
it's a whole
wanted to
thing.
dig in their claws to get people like, oh, what's going on?
Yes, yeah.
Theorizing, getting all
We're
the
not going to
promotion that
get
Billy made.
people.
Yeah.
We're not going to get people to sign up for that free month or whatever. We're going to make them pay for at least 2 or 3 months.
Yeah. So smart on a marketing standpoint, but like, yeah, it's a pain in the ass when you really want to get into it. But
Yeah, as a
no,
fan
it
who's
is.
just a consumer of things, you want to see it all at once for the most
Of
part, right?
course. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
which
you can't be too greedy.
I love the arguments.
Yeah.
I do love the argument. What is better? As a consumer, I want it all right now. As a business person, you want no, just a little bit at a time, so that way we can spread the money out over 6 months rather than a weekend.
Well, and you have the potential of gaining even more money over time because word of mouth will start getting with people like, oh, these first couple of episodes of this show are very, very good. Bring in more
Yes,
people, and then those people bring
yes,
in more people, and then by the end you have like 10 times the amount that you had at the beginning, right? Unless it was just like a binge watch show. So there's
Again,
reasons
I'm
for
I'm going with the
it. Yeah,
free month thing. I'm going with the free sign up for the
could have
first
been,
time for free month. I'm
could
I'm
have been.
going with that was an issue.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah, screw Netflix. They're going to take away the password sharing thing soon because they're losing money, and rightfully so.
oh wow,
Side note, because I'm in the animation industry, a lot of people in Vancouver here have been
yeah.
losing their jobs because of all these canceled Netflix shows. A lot of my friends are
Oh
being pissed
really?
off about it. Yeah, yeah. Like
No kidding.
everyone's contract is coming up to an end in the next little while, and people are panicking about it. And like I was out of a job for a year because I couldn't
That's
find a
right.
contract, and less work for the studio companies means less work for individuals like me. So it's a scary thing, guys. It's
Sure.
scary.
It is scary when you don't have work. I feel for you. And one of the
Yeah.
reasons why we even started doing this podcast, right, is because we had the time we could actually
Yes,
discuss
we
this kind
had
of
the
stuff,
time.
right?
Yeah, both you and I
Um,
were out of a
but
job, and we were
but
calling each other every week.
yeah, when it comes
Yeah,
to
it's like, hey man,
animation
you want to
now,
do this tonight? It's like, when? Right now?
right,
Yeah,
let's
let's
do it.
do it. And then you're like, we should do a podcast. It's like, yeah, okay, man, whatever. And then you're like, okay, Mitchell, we're doing it
We're
this
doing
week.
a
I'm like, what?
podcast
What?
now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about Futurama. Watch the first episode. Okay. Oh, by the way, you also need to do a mock-up drawing for us. Oh, okay, of us and the
Yeah.
heads in a jar. Yeah, let's do
That
that.
was good.
And then that was a
Yeah,
while. And
by
then
by the way, when you guys wonder, like it's Mitchell who does actually do the
hello.
pictures and everything that we've done. That's his animation, but he's copied a little bit of the style when it comes to this. But
Oh
just
yeah, yeah. It's
getting,
got to be in Futurama style. Like that
of
that I
course, yeah,
drew the characters Zap
that's
Brannigan-esque looks a little closer to me, so I drew that and Fry model is after Anthony here.
oh, it's a Zach Brannigan. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I didn't even, I
you
was
didn't
trying to
see
think. I was
that?
like, did you just make that more like you, and then I just got like copied as Fry, but you okay, it's Zach Brannigan. That makes sense.
I
Well,
couldn't do I really wanted to do Zoidberg because I pretty much am
nice.
Zoidberg of our
Your
group for the most
personality
part.
is very
I
Soybergish.
Yes, I'm very
Yes,
Zoidbergish. But the
but
thing is I have trouble imitating other art, which is one of the problems why I can't do stuff like that very well.
sure.
Um Zab Brannigan's face shape and he's a thicker dude and like me in real life. So I'm like, you know what, that works. I tested it out, I was like, yeah, it's perfect.
Right.
So that's why that one looks a little more like me.
And now that
But I
now that you've
unfortunately
said
couldn't do
that,
Zoidberg.
now that you said that, I've seen the picture of you, like the two of us. 'Cause Frya instantly recognized that picture for my drawing, and I'm like, okay, that's all obvious. But then yours, I thought you took a little bit more time making you, so I was a little bit more
So
jealous.
you thought
But now that you've said that, I now see the
so
Zap
you thought it
Brannigan.
was a selfish thing?
I thought you had made more attempt at making yourself more closely resemble you in the Futurama art, but I digress. I was wrong.
That's
So
funny.
now that I know this, and I kind of see the Zap Brannigan imagery in there now. But in any case, let's get on to our episode then. So like episode one
Yes,
and
sorry.
two, A Flight to Remember. Yeah, no. Um, of course, for
Titanic.
all these things, yeah, with the fantastic Titanic symbolism or imagery and everything in it, parody of it. We start off in this episode as another cold open. Crew is
Yeah.
returning from a cannibalon. I guess a lot of cannibals they want to eat, but Leela and Fry and Bender all complaining that this was one of the worst missions, which unfortunately we never actually get to see. It's just like talked about afterwards. But they get to go back to the Planet Express crew headquarters, right? The building there. The professor suggests that they do a company vacation, and
Well,
of course,
first off,
yeah,
they after they come back, they're like, "Screw you, Professor, we quit." And the
yeah, we want
professor's
to
like, "Well, I
leave.
guess I'll have to hire new people to take on vacation." Wait, hold on, we're going on
Right.
vacation.
That's how
Woohoo!
quick it is. And then his reasoning for it is like, oh, I just want to pay you guys back for all like the crap that I've had to put you through, and you don't press any charges. And then Bender's like,
Wait,
like, oh, you got a thing. And of course, this is actually what I think is funny about this cold open is that it does this cool little. He's like, yeah, we're going to go on a cruise ship, which of course is in space, in the Futurama universe. And the ship is called the Titanic. And of course, 1,000 years in the future, no one knows, I guess, about what the Titanic, right, in quotes, was supposed to be, except for Fry. But of course, Fry is quite stupid, so he wouldn't actually remember anything from like this closer related
yeah,
history.
exactly.
But they do this like, how would you describe it? Like the shot thing where they do like this
Done.
dun dun dun
Yeah, yeah. So
when they hear the
basically, they'll
word.
they'll
Yeah,
they'll do like a jump cut zoom in on the characters and kind of add an angle to it each time.
yeah.
So that way, it's a
Like
very
we're gonna go on the Titanic. Dun
ominous.
dun dun. Yeah, it's super ominous.
Yeah.
And then Leela's like, huh, sounds nice. And then it cuts to the intro. So I thought that's kind of a fun little thing
Yeah,
there.
so, and to interrupt
Yeah,
you here, like didn't we just pass like the 100-year anniversary not like a few years ago for the Titanic trip?
or Titanic.
Yeah, like it wasn't it set in like the early 1900s?
It is the early 1900s. Actually, I make a note of that later because of when they're going down the different decks. But I also don't know. I don't know the history of the. I know of the Titanic. I don't know the exact history of all things
All right,
Titanic.
just did a quick search on it, and 2012, sorry, 1912, April
There you
15th.
go. Oh, so a long time was
So
the
it's
100
been
year.
it's been a millennia and a decade and a bit.
Thanks, Mitchell. Yeah, that's good. For all
Yeah,
those
sorry to
people,
phrase that
that's
weirdly.
110 years or more.
111.
So,
A millennia,
yeah.
decade, and a
A minute, a
bit.
decade, and one. Yeah, a millennia, a decade, and one. Wow, weird way to say 111.
Yeah,
Um,
I know. I'm sorry. And just to reiterate another thing too, apparently, and I don't know if this has happened yet,
yeah,
they're making another actual Titanic ship and they're going to call it Titanic 2. Do you see a problem with that in real life?
if you're superstitious, I would see a problem with that. I honestly don't see a problem with that. I think it's
I
just kind of
just
a
okay,
people in nowadays where people make memes and jokes about everything that's culturally sensitive. I think
voting
there's going to
McVote
be a
face, yeah.
right. People are going to totally make jokes about that for forever if something bad happens to that ship. If nothing
Apparently it was
ever,
supposed to launch last year, but with
well, the virus and
whatever
everything.
reasons. Yeah.
If bad things don't happen to that ship, then it'll be forgotten about and people won't even care.
Oh yeah. But how funny would it be if it got in a God forbid, obviously,
Of
if it
course.
hit an iceberg in the exact same spot and sunk on top of Titanic 1, and then Titanic 2 happens, and then somewhere along the line, 100 years later, you know what? Let's send out another
One
Titanic
more
3,
Titanic
and like
3. Like it
yeah,
can't happen a third time.
yeah.
Yeah.
One's whatever. It happens. Two is a coincidence. Three is a
Three's a
pattern.
pattern.
What?
Yeah.
And then 1,000 years in the future, we're in spaceships now.
And it happens again. So this is so in if that happens in our world, Mitchell, if you've just predicted the future, then this should be Titanic 4.
Oh,
Unless of
what's
course
the
there's a bunch of them
phrase?
in there.
History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes.
Sure. I've heard history repeats itself, but oh right. Okay. I don't know
I,
that
I
whole
like I
phrase, but
like that
maybe
phrase
maybe it is.
better.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
don't think I'm quite saying the full phrase, but like history
Yeah.
is doesn't always repeat itself, but it
It
rhymes.
rhymes with
Often
its
rhymes. I think that might
sure.
be it.
Yeah,
I do
there's
love that. I
elements,
do
there's
love that.
echoes of it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Like
in any
like like
case,
for example, Spanish flu, the other one that
but
just
we've had
recently
many
happened.
flus between that though.
Yeah, I know, but
Had
that was
many
like 100
viruses
years
between.
ago.
Okay. Any case, back to the show.
Yeah, sorry.
So we go through our opening intro. I'm not sure if you knew this. Did you know? Do you know what the little because you know they play the screen when they fly through
Yeah.
the cartoon. Do you know what that cartoon is? I actually don't recognize it.
Oh, here. Let me see. I'm playing it along as we go. Oh, is that Johnny
You,
Quest?
I don't know. That's why I was asking if you knew it because I recognize most of the cartoons that they have on there from when I was a kid,
They're,
but I don't
they're mostly
recall.
Flesher stuff,
This one's
like
weird.
Felix the Cat, Betty Boop. That was
Yeah,
I can't
so
remember
it's like
the first name,
super
but
old.
something Flesher. Yeah.
Okay. So super old school. Anyway, to go through here. Now, this is a fun episode in a couple of regards, I think, as well. Not only because of it being the season 2 opener, but we also get like almost all of the cast that will become central for the future in this episode. Like everybody's in this show, in this episode. We have the entire Planet Express crew. We have Zap. We even get the introduction of Amy and Amy's parents, which comes a bit later, but we'll talk about that a little bit more. But a lot of characters are in this show.
Love the Wongs.
Yeah, we do. Um, so they go on these intergalactic departures. Um, Now, the Titanic, obviously, we talked about this
Oh,
last
right.
season.
Okay,
We talked
sorry.
about this last
I
season, but the Titanic
yeah, I
looks
think
very
you and
much
I
like
had
an
a
old ship, but it's
yeah.
just like futuristically looking. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I think you and I had maybe this might have been off mic or off camera, or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
The first on Wikipedia, season 1,
Yes, we
the
talked
last
about this
episode was
before,
different.
but
Right?
we've come.
Yes.
But this is how it was. This is how it was
Yeah.
scheduled. That's what.
This is how it
Yeah.
was on TV and stuff
Yes.
like that.
So that's what we're
That's what
going
we're
with.
going for.
Yes. If people are
All right.
looking at a future one where it says that season 1 doesn't end until actually this time, you're wrong. It was something else
Yes.
at the time. We're going with
TV
that time.
wise and
Yes.
DVD wise, up till a
Yes.
certain point before
Yes.
they redid it.
because you can see the
This is
production.
what.
Yeah, you can see the
Yeah,
production value now.
yeah, exactly. I agree. I agree.
So,
Um,
um, so
yeah. So,
yeah,
sorry.
going back, Titanic looks like a cruise, like an actual cruise ship. Like it looks like the original Titanic, but of course,
Spacey.
spacey, right? It has like the bubbles over the top, so people can't like suffocate or anything like that. So, now we also get the return of the mayor. He shows up for a scene in this as he's like saying that Zach Brannigan's going to pilot the ship, and Zoidberg. Apparently, everybody knows of Zach Brannigan. He's well known, even Zoidberg, and he makes a note that Leela recognizes him because she sighs. They're like, oh no, not him, right? And it's this whole thing. And then, of course, the joke that when Zap is going to christen the Titanic ship, he uses Leonardo DiCaprio's head because he's in a jar.
Yeah.
Because of course DiCaprio was in Titanic, so yet another symbolic thing of the Titanic film. So I thought that was pretty funny. Now Leela doesn't like Zap. We've established this since season one. Fry. I was trying to remember in that episode when we were first introduced. Does Fry not actually ever meet Zap Brannigan? He
Oh,
never sees him.
he does. Yeah, yeah. You were the guy that killed all the killbots because of all that thing. Yes, yes. I just threw wave of men after men at them
Okay, you're
until
right. That's right.
they
Okay, yeah, because
ran out of
they have the
killing.
dinner. Right.
Yeah.
They have the dinner for it, right? So in this
Again, it's been a
episode,
while since we've done this, guys. That's why our mind's not quite like,
well,
oh yeah, week to week.
like Zap Brannigan doesn't know Fry. So I guess you could throw it away that he just
He's
forgot
just a
about him because
pompous
who
idiot.
cares? You're right. Yeah,
He's in love. Infatuated. He's in over in love. He's obsessed with Leela, basically.
just with Leela. So
So
everything else just he forgets about. Sure, no, I can get
yeah,
that. And then of course, so since Leela despises him, she makes up the fact that she's actually engaged, and she decides to go through.
yeah.
She has
I
three
love her.
choices.
Oh, what's it called? Waffling? Is it waffling?
Yeah,
It may
like yeah,
fry.
humming and hawing
She
between them, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
humming and hawing. She's
yeah.
because the camera pans between the professor,
Zoidberg,
Zoidberg, and Fry. Yeah,
and
so
she goes to the
she's been
professor
picking Fry.
twice. Like she was
Yeah, I love
almost
that.
gonna pick the professor. So Professor Zoidberg, Fry, Zoidberg, Professor, back to Professor to Fry. So she ends up with Fry, obviously, because he's like the choice. But it's funny that she was thinking of that. So she says that Fry is her fiance. They've been together a long time. Fry plays along. Sorry, not Zoidberg. Zap doesn't like it, so he's going to be like constantly interfering with their quote unquote relationship throughout the episode, but he doesn't like them. Now this is also the episode where we're introduced to Hermes' wife, La Barbara.
Yep,
Um,
love her.
I do too. She's not like a staple. I guess she's a staple character, but she doesn't show up that
Once
much
or twice
throughout
a season.
the original series. Yeah, like
Yeah.
in the newer season, she shows up a lot more. In the
Yep.
movies, she has like more of a major plot with the
Yeah.
first one and the
Yeah
last
that
one.
one.
Yeah. But I don't know if yeah, I guess this is like the first time of it. So yeah, she's great. I always liked La Barbara. And then of course the Bender sees the Countess. So that's the beginning of this little relationship here. Now, here we get to this part. So the professor, I always forget the professor owns a company. He's actually like a very, very well-renowned professor, like scientist.
Oh yeah.
He does have a bit of money, even though he's a bit of a crackpot, but he does have a bit of money. So in this episode, we're also shown he has paid at least for everybody's vacation, but for the higher ups, such as Hermes and Zoidberg, I guess, because he's the doctor, they get to have like this beautiful room.
Yeah,
But then
like first class on a cruise ship is pretty
exactly,
damn first class. Like I've never
absolutely.
been on a cruise ship before, but like every time they depict it on TV or something like that, you get like a room with a bed that barely fits in it. And those are for like, people who I would say are richer than me, who are just like, yeah, we go on cruises every year kind of people. I've never
Right.
been on one.
But
But I'm
the
assuming that the people that can afford the first class stuff, they have like like an apartment sized room, maybe we'll
well, that's
say.
exactly what it looked like, right? Well, especially on this cruise ship. I think they
Yeah,
modeled it after real life
luxurious.
cruise ships. Yeah,
I would never use that word to describe any hotels I've been in, but
but this one
yeah,
was, yeah. Well,
yeah,
what was it? A two
luxurious.
bedroom, at least two bedrooms in this first class one with the professor and La Barbara and Hermes got their own room, and then I guess Zoidberg got a tank, which we actually never see on screen. It's
Yeah, they
just
never say it. Yeah,
mentioned. But Zoidberg gets to stay in that room with them, even though he's like dirt poor. but Amy, Bender, Leela, and Fry all have to sleep in the quote unquote fiesta deck, which is
Yeah,
just
right. They go through the
the fun
elevator
deck or
and they
whatever.
go
Yeah.
down and they
So
make fun of
that's
the
right. So they're
steerage
going through
deck,
here.
steerage.
So the nice suite is like, of course, the first class. The second class is for families and for people who, average wages, the
Your
middle
average
class
people.
kind of thing, right? They're all kids running around as they're going through and seeing all of it. The next one is I guess it's called the steerage, which has like uh, another
Fiddles.
ode, well, another ode to the Titanic film, and it has like the 1900s, like these families, and they're playing, yeah, fiddles and
And the
dancing,
fiddle, yeah,
that old
dancing, yeah.
school, very very old um, immigrant kind of like clothing, all this kind of stuff from the old country,
Yeah,
this kind of
just
thing.
black pants, white shirt, and
The
buckles, and
hat, right? Yeah,
the hat. Yeah,
and like you said, the fiddles playing the music, and they're all dancing, having fun. The next one is laundry,
I love that one.
just spinning
Just
laundry
a whole floor dedicated to
to
laundry.
water and laundry. After that is bowels of the ship, which is like for a spaceship they're using coal and like lots of it, and these guys are like just shoveling coal into the engine. And then the last one,
I
fiesta deck.
just to reiterate, like
Yeah,
in the canon of Futurama at this point, which it should be if we do canon wise, we've already met Nibbler, right,
yep.
and Dark Matter. So they're shoveling dark matter is what it should be. But like
Ah, right.
because of
Sorry.
real
Yeah,
life thing of what steam engines used to run on was coal going into the furnace
this
and
would be the
making
dark
steam,
matter.
right?
Yes.
So yeah, if we were to look at this as a logical thing of like in world logic, it could be they're shoveling dark mass, which if it is like a bazillion pounds, which doesn't happen.
People are
But
still right.
yeah, people are still shoveling. It's just
Still
a joke.
shoveling it
It's a
in,
joke.
of
Yeah.
course. And
But
I'm
but
yeah,
if we were to do like a real world thing, which Anthony and I had a fun conversation about Puss in Boots earlier on about this, we kind of
sure.
broke down the world a little too much for our sanity.
If we do that, well, we've done that with Futurama though as well from season.
Oh yeah, of course.
So yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
it's
so
it's
they're not
probably
shoveling
dark.
coal.
Yeah.
They're shoveling dark matter if we want to make sense of the universe.
Yes. No, absolutely. I guess the only thing that doesn't really make sense though afterwards is that the Fiesta deck is even below that. And
Yeah,
it's literally a
yeah.
hallway that like one of those danky looking, dripping water, all this stuff under
Something that a horror
everything.
movie underwater would be put in.
Yeah, like it looks like a submarine and it looks like a crappy submarine. So they open
Yeah,
the
it's
door. It has
leaking
like
a little bit.
the turning wheel for the handle of the door to open up the door, and the beds are cots, and there's four cots in there, each for one of them. They don't even have a window; it's an exhaust thing.
Oh, I love that.
Uh so
Well,
yeah,
how would you feel if you were in a room like this? Honestly, I think one of my worst fears might be to die underwater in something like this.
oh,
Like, there's no way for you to escape.
just
Like
suffocation under there.
that's
Yeah,
what something like that reminds me of. Like you're stuck in a
yeah. I think that's the
underground.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I guess the only time you'd ever be in a position like that is if you're on a cruise ship. If I was on a cruise ship and that was my bedding, yeah, I'm not really a fan of that. Of course, I'd much rather the second or the first class. I did go when I was a kid. I did go on a sailing trip, and our beds were not. Funny enough, actually, weren't
This
even.
is junior high, right?
This was junior high. They're not even that bad. Funny enough, on the sailboats. But I've been on ships where you can like you get like the little small, very very small bed, but it's comfortable enough you can sleep, and it's on the water. So I'm not. I think I'd be okay. But if you're sealed in, I can understand why you'd be a little afraid. Um,
Yeah, I'm not a claustrophobic person, but I like the idea that I can, go where I want when I want, not be sealed in.
Sure, sure. I guess you could keep in mind then if the ship did sink. Yeah. Of course, this one's in space, so you're having much more
Oh
of an
yeah, I
issue.
forgot that they're in
But
space, but
but
still,
fair enough. Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem for sure. But I think that's the joke, right? They're just in the worst possible environment because
yes, that is a joke. Sorry.
they're the grunts. But in any case,
Yeah, sorry to derail so much.
no, that's fine. It's just so Fry, Leela, Bender, and Amy are all in there. Bender's like, okay, I'm gonna go gamble, and he leaves. He mentions that he's gonna go gamble for 135 hours because I'm a giant nerd. I actually did do the math of this, and it's approximately 7 days. So they're on a week long course. So he's just gonna do the whole.
That's fun.
Yeah, they're just gonna do the whole thing. Amy, and this is actually kind of a fun thing because this is also going into our continuity of the whole show, and this is even its early season 2. She's going to go to the buffet and eat. which is funny because over the course of the series, it's shown that she loves to eat, but she wants to keep her figure and always remain beautiful.
Right.
So she's always, always, always eating. But this time she's like, I'm going to go to get like a whole bunch of tomato bisque and just eat myself, eat until whatever. So she leaves, leaving Fry
Well,
and Leela. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
like I've never been on a cruise, but
Right.
again, from what's depicted on TV, which is kind of my only reference I really have, other than I think maybe a friend or two has been on one very like a weekend cruise.
They usually have
Most of
those
what you, well,
banquets.
yeah,
Yeah.
most of what you do on a cruise is just you're there to purge yourself, really, or not splurge on
Yeah.
money kind of thing, right? So you
Do whatever you
gamble,
want.
you eat food nonstop. You're
Yeah.
just there to relax.
Well, it
So
depends. It depends on the kind of cruise that you want to do. So the one that you're thinking of is absolutely, yeah, like it's a cruise ship for
yeah,
leisure for
just like
family tour.
a
Yeah.
vacation cruise, yeah.
There's also like the theme park one, like Disney, for example. Disney park theme parks has a cruise ship as well, which doesn't have.
Uh,
Actually, I don't know. It may have gambling. I actually don't know,
I don't
but it
I don't think
has
it would
maybe not.
for
It's not for its
for a Disney theme thing. I don't
reputation.
think they
Yeah.
would. Yeah.
So they do have like, but they have rides and they have arcades, and it's more of a family cruise. But then, like my family had also gone on one that was a cruise that was like a spectator cruise. So it was like you're supposed to travel
Whale
through
watching?
areas. It was whale watching is one aspect of it, but it's not just whales. It could be for many other exotic animals or just areas of the world.
Seagulls. Look, kids, seagull.
Yeah. So those those types of cruise ships, I guess, probably wouldn't have gambling, but there are definitely those that do. And I guess that was
Yeah,
just the
as
basic.
a leisure cruise, you think just like what they're going on, you think that they would have gambling, excessive amounts of food,
Yeah.
just basically kind of like I
Anything you
think
want.
like
It's anything
Las
you want.
Vegas on a ship. Las Vegas on a ship is what I would say.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
For 7 days and the amount of money that people pay for this, you basically, yeah, just want to lounge around, do nothing, play games, as they do, right? They have the limbo
Yep.
contest later in the episode. So it's a thing. It's a thing. Now of course this leaves with Amy and Bender leaving to do their own thing. This leaves Fry and Leela. Fry is playing around with the idea of, being the fiance. Leela doesn't like it because she's only doing it for Zap, in which case Zap does show up and she makes it more, whatever. She's using
Like
Fry.
yeah.
She's
Yeah.
using Fry for this. And it's
To
interesting
avoid, yeah.
to avoid Zap, right? It's interesting because this is one of those times when you see that Leela is not perfect, right? Like she will do bad things or like things that may hurt other people just so that she doesn't have to suffer through these things. And I think that's a good thing about her character. You actually learn about that with Leela throughout the series. She's not that perfect person. She does have
She's not a
issues.
Mary Sue, yeah.
Exactly. Now we'll go over to after the whole scene with Zach showing up and pretending to be the thing. Bender's gambling, and
Oh, I love this.
I thought this was hilarious. So Bender's a robot. Bender apparently has something called a cheating unit, and apparently it can malfunction. So Bender has the ability to see inside his hand. He could predict to a very
He has
sure
dice.
thing.
He's
There's dice.
that's called craps, right?
That's craps. Yeah. So he
Yeah,
can do
it's called
this.
craps. So he's trying to get a
It's
7 like you do.
Yeah, and it says sure thing, like he's gonna
Yeah,
get
I
it no
love
matter
that,
what.
yeah.
Like that's the predictability. It's a 100% sure thing, and he bets everything he owns. So I guess he's made a bit of money, but he bets everything he has. It screws up, and it gives him the I guess snake eyes, and he loses all of his money. Now, uh, apparently, according to the guy who's running the craps table, says there's a because Bender wants a do over.
Wait,
The
my
house,
cheating malfunctioned.
yeah, the house
My
has
cheating unit malfunctioned. I demand to do a
a
redo.
do-over or a redo, and he's like, I'm sorry, the
Redo.
house has only 3 redo do-over limit or something. So the house actually allows you, if you cheat, you're allowed to go again. So I thought that was like a
I
fun
love
little
that.
joke in
I
there.
love that.
And this also introduces another character that we see in other instances throughout the series is Isaac.
Sparing, yeah. So
Very great
yeah, so
character.
yeah,
He's
so
always a
he
bartender.
loses all his money. He goes, ah,
Yeah,
crap. So then this is
exactly.
my favorite line, I think, of this episode. My favorite line, and he's like, "Hey," and the bartender's like, "Hi." He's like, "Give me your biggest, strongest, cheapest
Cheapest
drink."
drink. Yes.
I've used that phrase a lot, not with just drinks, or just whenever it's like, "Oh, what do you want?" Oh, the biggest,
Biggest,
strongest,
strongest,
cheapest
cheapest
one,
drink. He's like, you
whatever
got
it
it.
is.
And he's always like very upbeat and everything. Like, you got it, friend. Yeah.
I love that
Um,
his hands are the soda dispenser though, like the fingers are the nozzles.
yeah.
I love that.
He's perfect for this, right? He's just a perfect creation for just being a bartender. Hence why we always see him as a bartender or like a vendor
Yeah,
of sorts in the future. And of course,
and
the
I think
scene.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just around this time,
Yeah.
I think like like the iPhone and iPods were coming around
Yeah.
out at this time, which is why it's called Isaac.
Isaac.
But
Yeah.
also
Isaac.
Isaac is a name too that primarily, at least from what I known, happened to go to African American people, and the bartender's black, and his name is Isaac. I just found that as a little funny humor too there.
Oh, sure. So it's kind of playing on that. Yeah. I knew the Isaac because it was like Apple, right? Because Apple was becoming
Yeah,
much more popular at that time as well.
iPod,
Isaac,
iPhone.
ZAC. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
that makes sense. Oh, I didn't even think about that with because you're right, he's a bit of a darker robot. I guess that would be maybe that is a play on for that. I shouldn't even think of that. So that's a
oh,
good call. I didn't actually see that.
yeah, that's right. I noticed these things.
You did notice something. That's great, Mitchell. And then
Oh,
of
shut up.
course, speaking of noticing, we also see that Bender notices and meets up with the Countess again. Like he saw her before, but now he's actually able to speak with her. And I believe she's played by Tress MacNeille.
More than likely, yeah.
I think so.
She was the
She
go-to
sounds
voice
like a
for any
nice. She sounds
female.
like a nicer version of Mom. So I'm pretty sure it's Tress MacNeille. And yeah, she's playing the
Oh yeah, that's 100% Tress MacNeille. Yeah,
yeah
yeah. Now that I heard that sound, but yeah,
Countess Della Rocca, I think is her full name. I just call her the Countess. Who's supposed to be Kate Winslet's character
counterpart. Yeah,
mix or something on there, even though
not counterpart. Yeah,
they're quite different in the movie. But in any case, that's the idea. Bender's, the Jack of all trades, Jack character from Leo
the
DiCaprio character. Yeah,
low peasant level guy. Yeah,
yeah, but he's pretending to be more back in the day of statuses for the American people. Well, I shouldn't say back in the day; it still kind of exists, but more so at that time, especially. And yeah, Bender's trying to pretend like he's a big shot and everything, and he starts to steal from the Countess and all this other
yeah.
stuff.
He agree. Squeezy and grabby are stealing. Yep.
Right when he names his hands. Now, what do you think? What do you think about the idea of Bender being the Leo DiCaprio character of this?
I thought it was okay. Like it's a little on the nose. But honestly, I think it would have been even better if it was Fry, but it doesn't quite fit with the story because it's like
Yeah,
how would that make sense if Leela was Kate Winslet's character and he was that? But
yeah. I guess it's kind of
because
well,
I've never really pictured Bender as like the peasant guy. He was always kind of like the
well,
I don't know
he's a
what's
thief and
called.
everything. Well,
Yeah,
I think they're
thief.
also playing that robots because I think she even mentions this in the episode. Like, oh, I've never seen a robot on the first class. They're usually like the workers. So I think they're kind of playing on that. But and that does come up in other. Well, actually, that did come up in the first season, right? When he goes to the planet of the other robots. So I can kind of see it. It is
Yeah,
strange because you'd think it would be Fry, but yeah, Bender ends up being that kind of character there. But in any case, we then cut to the idea. So we remember that Zap Brannigan is the pilot, or at least supposed to be the captain of the ship, right? So
yes,
he and Kiff, obviously Kiff's always with him. They're doing all this stuff, and Zap Brannigan, I guess, is bored because even though the cruise company has paid for them to go a very nice route, he's decided he wants to take it through like a comet, the field of comets, which are like
yeah,
the icebergs of the
of the
sky.
sky.
So
Yeah, yeah.
we're getting even more homages to the movie, which is kind of funny. But Kiff is already like, oh, this is not going to end well.
See,
uh,
I love
yeah,
this scene for a few reasons. Just Zap Brannigan, obviously being Zap Brannigan,
yeah,
but just looking at it, there's just a single button on the wall that puts down the map, which is literally a straight line between two planets.
right.
Yeah, like
And like everywhere else
it's
has comments except for this one line.
yes,
Yeah,
but I love the fact that there's just on the wall one
yeah,
button, not a light switch or anything. It's just a button for this map to be put down, and it's like
yeah.
it's
It's
very awkward.
only reason it's there. Only reason.
Oh yeah, it's very weird.
Yep. But now we're getting more closer to the idea as to what's going to happen to the fate of Titanic. But
The
in any
icebergs
case,
of the sky.
icebergs of the
Wink,
sky.
wink.
Now we then cut down to Amy. We haven't seen Amy
Amy.
in a little while, and she's getting her food from the buffet. And of course, as I had alluded to earlier, her parents are here. Now they're not actually mentioned in the show. In this episode they're not. Sorry, but I had to double check just because I know
Their
Leo
names.
is the name. Yeah, Leo is her father. Inez is her mother. But they are not named in the show. I double checked it just in
Yeah,
case.
just mom and dad and
Mom and
Mr. and
dad and
Mrs.
the
Wong.
Wongs. Yeah,
Oh.
but they're funny because they're for a first instance of it, you don't actually know anything about the culture of Amy's family. All you know is that she came from a rich family of the surname Wong, who lived on Mars. That's all you know.
So
But the
obviously she's
Wongs,
Asian.
right? But the Wongs themselves, her parents, are dressed in like cowboy attire, like Western
Oh
cowboy
yeah.
attire, and they're still very heavily like Cantonese accented and all this kind of stuff, like very much like that traditional Chinese sound of like the old type of
The
family,
accent, yeah.
the accent and everything, and they still have these stereotype Chinese type of items, I guess, part of their personality. So as soon as they see her, they're like, "Oh, you're here!" Like, "Oh, well, we were just going to enjoy a relaxing vacation, but now we're going to meddle. We're going to meddle in your life."
We
As a
thought
lot of
we'd do
families
some
would.
meddling.
And they keep on asking her like, why are you here and not with a boyfriend making us grandchildren? All they care about is grandchildren. And it seems to be a thing throughout the series. They constantly get her to try and have a boyfriend or have some kind of relationship just simply so they can have a grandchild. Very, very
Have your
stereotypical
parents done
Chinese
that to you
families.
yet?
My parents-in-law, no, they haven't. They're actually a little bit more what's the word? I guess more modern of it. But they have asked, obviously, like they've asked, like, oh,
We
when do you
gonna
think
get
you'll have
any
kids?
grand? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
when are you guys gonna have kids? Something like this. And I think we've both been very adamant to being like, not until a little bit longer in the relationship of our marriage, just so that we get everything sorted out, right?
Yeah.
But then even with like we have friends as well who are married to Chinese families, and because of other members of their family, so like grandparents or something who may not be around forever, right? They're not going to be around that much longer. They want to have kids so that they have time to spend with these kids, right? So it's an important aspect of a lot of Chinese culture, a lot of family culture, which is, it's fine. It's just funny to see that like 1,000 years in the future, that's still very much a problem for some families. Because like Amy clearly doesn't like it. She wants to have a life of adventure and do things on her own and all this kind of stuff, despite being a doctoral candidate. Like she's still very smart, even though she's a bit ditzy. But
Ditzy, yeah.
I
Sploops.
still enjoy this kind of aspect of
I
it.
think I heard this phrase that parents should raise their children so they can spoil their grandchildren. I think that I heard that phrase somewhere, and I love that. And like I'm not in a relationship, and my dad's like always saying like, "Hey, when I'm gonna get grandkids? Hey, when I'm gonna get grandkids?" I'm like,
You'll
"Dad,
get them when
I
you
have
get
to.
them.
I
Yeah.
have. There's a few steps before I get there."
Yeah. I need that
And
relationship.
I love my mom too because like my mom's in her mid 50s. She doesn't like it when I say that. And for like the longest time she's like, I want no grandbabies because that would make her a grandmother and she doesn't want to
She doesn't want
feel
to feel
that
too
old yet.
old, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but lately, like little lately, she's been like, hey, what are you thinking about getting in a relationship and having kids? But I'm like, so you want grandchildren? She's like, no. So she still hasn't quite eased into
Sure.
that
And
grandchild
I think a lot of
wanting
parents are just
phase.
kind of like whenever when they have kids and their kids are old enough to be, parents and comfortable and married, all this stuff, then I think that's when parents are like perfectly open to this. I guess it's just funny because like Leo and Inez Wong are very like when Amy says she doesn't have a boyfriend, they're already with a proposed boyfriend like every time. Like,
Yes,
oh, we
yeah,
found a
they
guy.
show this gross guy.
Yeah, every time they you see him on screen, like, oh, have you found a boyfriend? Here's a guy that we found. He's not that ugly. You should marry him, or at least have him use
He's
him to
not that
conceive
ugly.
kids. Yeah, and he's like this fat guy who's eating at the
He's
at the
going over
buffet.
the safety glass to dip his hand into the pot of bisque.
Yeah,
Like, ugh, that's just rude.
it's super rude, but some people are like that, man. In any case, Amy
Yeah,
then says that she actually has a boyfriend, and we cut actually back to Leela
Fry and
using
Leela.
Leela using Fry and all this kind of stuff.
They're out on the deck looking at the stars.
Yes. So Fry's trying not to be so stupid, I guess, but he can't help
Well,
himself.
yeah, he still has a big crush on her and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And he's like, "Oh, this is super romantic. Oh, I mean, platonic. It's
platonic.
super platonic out here, isn't it?"
And she's like, Fry,
I love
shut
that.
up. And then, of course, the only time when she wants him to do something romantic, right, is if Zap shows up, and he does briefly. Right? He's
And
like,
she quickly brings him in for a kiss.
yeah, she's
I
kissing
love
him.
that.
It's like,
Then
that was for
Zap.
Zap. Don't get any ideas. He's
Do you
like,
have anything
oh,
else that you wanted to give to
yeah.
Zap for me?
And then we get Amy and her parents showing up there, and then Amy says,
Wait, wait,
"Oh,
wait. Yeah, yeah. Fry and Leela got invited to the captain's table for dinner.
sorry, yes, Fry got
Yes,
that was during this time. That's why Zap was there
that's why.
to
Yeah, Zap was
meddle with
bugging
their
on me.
relationship at the time. And then as soon as that kiss is over, Leela admits like, "Oh, that wasn't for you. That was for Zap." And then Amy shows up with her parents, and then introduces her parents to Fry as her boyfriend. So now we have this one person dating two people at the same time kind of conundrum of a sitcom
Cope, a sitcom trope. Sorry,
trope.
not cope.
Yeah,
Trope.
sitcom trope, and also like which Fry brings up later with Three's Company. But yeah, it's an
Never seen
interesting.
it.
It's well, old show. It's
Yeah, it's from like what the
like
'70s, '80s.
70s and 80s, I think. Yeah, so it's as the old episodes were prone to bring in like these old shows, right? However, as Amy says this to Fry and then kisses him to show that she's in the relationship, and Fry just kind of, who cares? It goes along with it.
Goes along with it.
Leela shows that she's jealous. She's
A
jealous of
little, a
us.
little gruff,
Yeah.
stern
She's like,
with
oh,
him. I would have never done that if I knew you were with Amy.
right.
Eh.
But of course, like he's just
Oh
pretending to
no,
fool her
Amy's
parents,
just
right?
just doing this to fool her parents. She doesn't want to deal with the consequences or annoyance that would ensue. Yeah,
Exactly. But then Fry kind of picks up on this, like, oh, maybe you are jealous. Maybe there is something here, which I guess kind of leads into their developing of Fry wanting to have some kind of relationship with them later with her in the future, right? Now, after this, of course, like Bender's also starting to feel the love bug. So he's there and he's with the Countess, and he's with her. They're in her room. She has a beautiful room, all this kind of stuff. And he
first
wants
class,
in first class.
luxurious.
He wants to steal this bracelet from her, but he
I thought it was
doesn't.
a necklace.
I thought so too.
A
It's not
necklace.
a necklace. It is a bracelet. He even says bracelet in the episode, and he puts it on her hand. So it is a bracelet. And he says
Yeah,
like, "Oh, I love like it's like it's beautiful, but
only
not as beautiful as
94.
you."
It's
Yeah.
only 94% as beautiful as you.
And they get down to the bar, and she's doing something else, and Bender's talking with Isaac again. This is kind of a funny thing. So Isaac is like all happy, like, "Oh yeah, go, sir. Like you have a good time." All this kind of stuff, very positive. And then Bender's telling him like, "Oh yeah, like I could have stolen this. Why didn't I?" He's like, "Oh, you're in love," like all this. And then sorry, Bender takes these drinks that he's ordered, leaves the
Which
bar.
are just to interrupt you there.
Yeah, they're
When Isaac is mixing, he's mixing drinks, but since it's for a robot, but
oh
they run
right,
off of alcohol, it's Jägermeister and
and
like
petroleum
Pennzoil,
or right,
petroleum
yes,
oil. Yeah,
yeah. So it's clearly for robots, right? Not for
yeah.
humans.
And then
So
yeah,
he's
so
fixing
then
these.
Bender walks away.
Bender walks away, and he's like, "Oh, you got to pay for them." And he's like, "God, I'm not paying for these," because Bender still doesn't have
Fuck
any
yours,
money, I
chump.
guess. So Isaac turns like security at the bar, and he gets like these security robots pop out of the ground, beat Bender, and as soon as the Countess sees this, Isaac rats him out. He's actually a poor guy. He has nothing to do with money. He's cheating you, whatever. She's like, "Oh, I see."
He's this penniless bum.
Yeah. She gives Isaac the money, keeps the change, and then Isaac does this. You got it. Like he
Yeah,
goes
like
back to being
the
positive
finger
again.
guns. Yeah, the
Yeah.
finger guns.
So he's just like, whatever, as long as I get paid, I don't care. So I thought that was kind of a funny little thing for that. But as is typical, I guess, if we're keeping with the Titanic parody of it, in the movie, if I'm not mistaken, Jack is poor. She kind of knows that, but she kind of sees him as like an adventurous thing because she doesn't like being in the life that she's in as like this
Yeah,
rich, wealthy
so
woman.
hard to be a rich person. Ugh, the
Well, it's just because
worst.
she's married off to people she doesn't like. Like in the movie,
Oh,
she
right. Back in that time,
threatens. Yeah,
yeah.
well, she
You were
threatens.
married off for deals for the father and stuff
Yeah,
like that. Yeah,
well,
like back in
She
the day
threatens
when
committing
kings
suicide.
marry off their daughters to other royalty and
Yes,
stuff like
yeah,
that
yeah.
for um
Lineages and
relationships and stuff like yeah,
land, all this kind of stuff. So it's similar for
yeah.
this kind of thing. But she's threatening to threatening to commit suicide off the ship. And that's how they actually meet in the movie. So
Ah, I have
with
not seen it all the way through. Like I've seen it on TV, so it's always at the interesting parts, never at the beginning or end, right? It's
sure,
always through the middle bits.
yeah, yeah. So with all that, Bender has to admit that he's like this, but she doesn't care. She likes him for him, which is something that he didn't think would actually happen. And then this is where they do like the Titanic montage parody. So there's like the whole like the music starts playing. He's drawing her naked, as Jack does in the
But
Titanic
as a
movie.
robot, which is like
Yeah,
the resistors, the wires and stuff like that,
right.
like some
Very
yeah,
much, yeah, very, very robotic stuff, like nothing
a
sexual
naked
whatsoever.
robot.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Um, they do the car thing, right? When they get to the car and they're in there to, do what they do with the car. And then at the very end, like holding her up, like I'm the king of the world type of thing, and holding her up to feel the breeze and everything. But she's so heavy that they break the floor, and fun stuff for it. So fun little montage there. Bender's in love. Bender's now during this time as well, they're playing games on the ship, and they're having a
The other crew.
on the cruise ship, right? Everybody else, and they're having a limbo
Yeah,
contest,
the other everyone but Bender.
right? Yeah, Bender's kind of in his own storyline at this point. So we find out as they're doing limbo, and LaBarbara says like, "Oh, Hermes, you can do this." And Hermes was once an Olympic athlete for Earth, right? Because it's planets, not countries anymore,
I
for
love it.
limbo competition. So limbo has now turned into an Olympic sport 1,000 years in the future, and Hermes was one of them. And we see a little bit of a flashback. And you and I agreed that this is one of the funnier scenes.
It's probably my favorite scene. Yeah.
When so Hermes is remembering back why he doesn't limbo anymore. And it turns out that a child tried to not pretend, he was inspired by Hermes so much that he ran into the field to try and limbo, and he ended up dying
No,
because he broke his spine trying to limbo. So Hermes
because yeah,
swore off.
I love it so much. I'm just gonna be like Hermes. No, kid, the bar is way too low.
Your
Your
backbone
spine
can't
hasn't learned how
take
to
it.
be
Yeah,
flexible yet.
yeah.
And then you hear the kid going, "Yay!" And then you
I'm
hear the
just
snapping, and he's like,
yeah.
"No."
No. And then he's like crying. Like it's still a horrible thing. So in any case, Zap shows up again, and he says like, "Okay, um, I'm here to declare a winner." Kif makes this odd remark like, "You shouldn't be here. Like you should be steering the ship
You'd be
because we're
fun.
going through
I
comets."
love Kif because like he's like the voice of reason,
Yeah,
but because he's kind of not very
it's meek,
oh assertive.
right?
Assertive. He's not very
Assertive. Sorry.
assertive.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he does. So no one really listens to him. It's very funny how the voice of reason can be not very assertive
Overheard.
sometimes.
Yeah,
Overheard.
or not. Sorry. Yeah, not heard as much. Sorry. Yeah. No, he's like it's just a very quick line, and then it cuts right over to back to Zaf saying like, "I declared Leela to be the winner of the limbo contest, of which she didn't actually participate in." But I think this is actually where he invites them to the captain's table. The first time with it, when she's doing the kiss, he was telling Fry like, "If you uh like, I'll be there watching you," or something. But in any case, he invites them to this, and I wanted to make mention that the cat lady, I don't actually remember her name, but the cat lady this is like the first time we've seen her as well. No, sorry, second time we've seen her,
No, yeah.
because she's
Like the third episode, I think, was the first time we saw her in the first season
with the eye
when they
ring,
were searching for
right?
houses.
Yeah, because she was like the landlord of it. So now apparently she's here, but she's now with the professor because the professor was able to limbo slightly. He's a little bit more flexible for an old man. But anyway, we skip over then to the dinner time, captain's table. Zap has invited Fry, Leela, the professor. Professor has also invited the cat lady. I guess she could join them. And then he's also invited Amy and the Wongs, so her parents, to the table as well, which also leads an awkward situation. Fry has to be there with both the girls he's pretending to be with. Zap,
What a horrible situation to be put in.
yeah.
Oh God.
Well, Zap has
Two
to now
beautiful
figure
women
out.
pretending to be with you. Oh God.
Zap shows that he's a bit more clever, I think, because he's also saying like, "Yes, plant a
Plant one
kiss
on your woman.
on your woman," and he has like that look, right? And then Fry, fucking Fry, he's trying to figure out how to do his how to do the situation because of Three's Company. So he starts singing the theme song in his head, trying to.
Come and knock on our door. La, la,
And
la,
then
la.
Leo gets upset. He's like, "Kiss my daughter," and then the professor's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Like, Who are you with? And Fry's still panicking. He doesn't know what to do. And then Kif saves the day, kind of. He brings Zap because they're about to be in a horrible accident, which they end up being in with the catastrophe. And then Fry is able to kiss Amy because Zap leaves the table.
With Zap not being conveniently here, why don't we kiss Fry? Ah, sure thing, Amy.
That's something we can all enjoy. And of course, Leela is still showing to be, even though she knows the truth that they're not actually together, but she still shows that jealousy. Now it's a funny thing as they're up there and they're doing this. So Zap is brought up with Kif, right? They're doing this. Leela leaves the table. Fry follows her out, and then they have this conversation. And this is another thing. I think we've seen this in the very first episode when they meet. There's this
yes,
will they, won't they theme kind of showing with the two of them, or like this emotion. So, and they almost actually kiss until the ship goes under its, hitting the comet, right? Or no, sorry, not hitting the comet, but like going into a problem. So they were having a moment. Sorry, go ahead.
I think one of my favorite things here is because to kind of show that she's a little jealous or something like that, and she's like, "Wow, why don't you just go with Amy? You have two eyes, she has two eyes."
I know. It seems like a perfect couple.
Fry's like, "Yeah, no, it seems like we'd be a perfect couple for each other, but that's not. I don't feel that way about her." I just love how stupid and simple that is.
She has two eyes. You have two eyes. I know. Look, that's the only thing Leela ever really cares about is how many eyes. But
yeah, I love that too because as long as they don't, I don't mind a guy I'm going out with to have lots of eyes as long as it's no more than 3 or something like that. I can't remember.
No more than 5 or something. Yeah.
No more than 5.
Yeah, she has like the guy had the lizard tongue.
The guy
or
has
something,
lizard tongue. Ew.
So meanwhile, as they're having their moment, and all these people are having this moment, when Zap's brought up with Kif says like, because of these comets, we're now going to have like an issue. He's like, oh, no problem. We'll just go to that empty spot over there next to that blackish hole-ish
thing.
And like, that's a black hole, sir. He's like, well, I've done all I can. I guess we'll nothing to do with let the captain go down with the ship. And Kif's actually kind of like, oh wow, that's noble. He's like, you're right, it is noble. Congratulations, Captain. It makes Kif the captain of the ship. Thus, Zap can freely, in his own head, escape in one of the pods without ever having any issues. Right now, the ship starts to break. They all figure out that they're about to go through a black hole, or into a black hole, and they have to escape to the pods, which are of course on the opposite side of the ship. There's some interesting little symbolism here. I like kind of like the animation for it. So like as they're looking at the map, and then the map breaks when the ship breaks, so they have to do this whole thing. I thought that was kind of a cool thing. And Bender wants to go.
That's clever.
Yeah, and Bender then wants to go back to save the Countess, and nobody else really knows about her except for Fry,
which Bender covers up. I just want to go loot some stuff.
Right.
Steal things.
And of course, Fry sees through it. He's like, no, you're going back to the Countess. He's like, just tell them I died stealing from people, whatever. So this is great. Fry is carrying the professor. Leela, Hermes, Zoidberg, and LaBarbara are all running to get to the ship. To get to the pods on the other side of the ship. While Bender goes to run off to save the Countess, and she makes a joke like she fell through the floor and she killed a family because they broke her fall or whatever.
Oh, are you hurt? No, this little family broke my fall.
So that's great.
I'm okay.
So Bender tries to rescue her, and then they end up doing something with the water to try and fill them up. But of course, they're robots, so they just get stuck under the water, right?
And turns out she's part of a yacht club because she's part yacht.
Part yacht. She's like, I'm a class 4 yacht. I love that line. I don't know why. I think that one was just like, oh my God, you're right. I'm a class 4 yacht. And she like has like a little, what do you call that? I guess like just a rudder or something. Propeller. Thank you. The propeller just on her back just pops out. Bender gets on like a boat and they just like swim up. So meanwhile, the others are escaping and the door shuts down. They're going to be trapped. Zoidberg comes in, sticks his claw, so there's a little bit of room.
Yeah, it was about to close, and Bender does that thing. No, leaps for it and sticks his claw.
Zoidberg.
Who'd I say?
Bender.
Who'd I say?
Bender.
Sorry,
yeah,
Zoidberg. Sorry,
yeah.
Zoidberg.
Your character goes in there, sticks him in, and what is it like? Because I think Hermes says something about like an inch. It's like 2 inches. It's not that high. It's very, very low. But they're like, oh my God, no one's gonna be able to squish under there. And then Hermes is like, nah, I got this. And he turns out he's still wearing his Olympic limbo uniform.
But that was
And he's
like
like
20 years ago,
20
so
years
he's
ago, he's still a
outgrown it
bit
a little bit.
he's fat, he's got like a bit of a belly. He's like, yeah, I can do this. And then you know, and they do this whole thing where he actually limbos, and he does limbo under the door somehow. Even so much he wants Zoidberg to lower it a little bit and all this stuff. And they have to release the door. That's why he has to get to the other side. But in any case, they free them. They get to the pods. Everybody gets on. I remember the professor has this little joke like, "Oh, good thing there's so many pods. That way we don't have to dress up as women and children." And
And he
he's
has
not
like a little beanie on, something
a
like
little
that.
lollipop, and he's like a child. Yeah, looks he's trying to pose as a child, not a woman, which is like I thought there was just like a funny little joke there. And Bender and the Countess are making it. They're running to the ship as it's pulling away because they don't have enough time. The black hole is sucking everything in. Oh, sorry, I should mention as well. The Wongs are also saved, and they find Kif, which I wanted to talk about a little bit later, just because this is kind of a weird continuity thing.
Yes,
You
but
want to talk about it?
I
Yeah,
want to reiterate when
yeah.
she's like, "Mom, Dad, you guys are life." And he's like, "Yeah, but so what? You don't
We
you
don't
don't
want
have
to
a you don't we don't have any grandchildren."
right? And he's like, but we found a handsome man for you. And she's like, oh, and he's a captain. And she's like, oh, I don't really want. And then it
It's
turns out to be
Kif.
Kif, because of
Yeah.
course he's now the replaced captain. So the Wongs actually introduced Kif to Amy. Well,
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Remember
yeah, no,
this. Yeah,
that is pulling some continuity stuff in my mind that they don't really acknowledge.
right. Which is one of the few times they actually do this on the show. But we'll come back to this in a little bit. So they have this instant connection, which is fine, right? They go onto the ship. Everybody's there. They're ready to take off, and Bender and the Countess aren't there yet, and they have to leave. And as they're pulling away, Bender and the Countess show up. And they jump out, but they're super heavy, and the black hole is, of course, like gravity soul sucking everything in, right?
Yeah.
The Countess sacrifices herself to save them, but leaves the bracelet with Bender, and they pull away. And as they pull away, Bender gets brought into the ship, and he's sad, of course, like he liked her, all this kind of stuff. And the last line of the show goes to Hermes, because of course Hermes is also like very, very specific about things. He asks Hermes like, "How much do you think this is worth?"
The bracelet.
And with the bracelet, and he says, "It's fake, man." And then the last thing you hear, Bender crying. As they continue
Along
on.
with the
Yeah,
music too, the beautiful music that sounds like it's from Titanic.
right. So all this stuff all the way to the end, and that's the end of the episode. So it's packed with tons of stuff, tons and tons of information going on. Now, the continuity of this, right? Because we talked about this with other with future episodes when we see um characters and everything uh when they meet up in the future, right? So Kif and Amy. But then the Wongs instantly don't like Kif in the future. So this is a very strange continuity problem that we haven't seen before. Or we start to see, I should say. So when we
Well,
get to that
when's the next
episode,
time we see the Wongs? That's like the bungalows roam again or
I
something like that.
think
That's
it
not
is
until like season 3 or something like that, right?
it's one of the next times we either see them a little bit earlier when but they're not part of like a storyline that's like a romantic storyline. But yes, that's like one of the major ones when they're part of the show. So
Yeah,
that's
that's a good question.
yeah. So it's an interesting aspect to it. But in any case,
Usually
yeah,
I watch Futurama twice a year, more or less. But
right.
because Anthony and I have been doing this podcast, I've been putting that off. So I don't remember when the next time we see the Wongs is. And I'm usually pretty good at this stuff.
That's okay. It's we know for sure that the main thing with it is in the where the Bungalow roam. That's in the third season. So
I believe so, yeah.
um, well, I guess now we can finish off with the episode here. So overall, your favorite scene, the favorite scene that you liked, anything that you thought was the funniest, and your MVP of the episode. Who would you say, and
Oh,
all this kind of stuff.
I,
Yeah,
well, we've already mentioned the kid going, "I'm just like Hermes." It was one of
yeah,
my
that's probably
favorite, but I
I think that's the
also
funniest scene. I think I would say.
that is my favorite scene for
Yeah,
humor. But I also like the one with where Hermes is like, "Okay, I can limbo underneath just for that little kid up in heaven, which confirms the kid died.
Yeah,
So
limboing in
I
heaven
do
right
like
now.
that.
Yeah.
Children death is not something to laugh at people unless it's funny.
Okay.
And so then he gets through. But I also like the part where they all run past, and then you hear his voice, "Hey, can someone help me up?" Because
All
he
right.
can't get out of the
You can't
limbo
get back out of the
position
limbo.
because it's been forever.
Right.
So
No, that was pretty good. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go so far as to say I think my MVP for this episode is going to be Hermes. I think he has a lot of great lines. A lot of funny things are connected to him. They didn't escape without him, so I think he's MVP.
uh, I'm gonna stick with Fry. I'm a man who loves love, and I love the relationship between Fry and Leela, and this is kind of where it starts. I guess say
Yeah,
where they
there's
kind of like
more
yeah
evidence for
the
it, right?
development. There's more development between
Yeah,
it.
yeah. No, I completely see that. Fry is funny in the episode. Like he has some pretty good lines. Zap and Fry both have pretty good lines in the show. A lot of funny, like even the professor having the like the kids that like get out of
Kid
here,
outfit, yeah, the little
the
kid
kid
cap
outfit.
and the
Like
lollipop, yeah.
that's pretty funny. But any case, right? And I guess that's episode two, or sorry, episode one of season two.
Season two.
So yeah, then next time we get to see with actual episode two, Mars University, and introduced to some other things that kind of have more world building or universe building of the series. So next time shall be good. Well, thank you so much, Mitchell, for joining me. And
No problem.
yeah,
It's good to get
talk,
back into this.
of course. And welcome back, everyone, to season two.